welcome to another episode of the Who Do You Think You Are podcast. And Pedro.
Episode 129. Be more sure about it, dude. This is a new year.
New year.
So we're starting off stronger now, you know?
All right.
We got the first stranger in this studio, Studio 3.
Yeah, so all the previous guests, like either I know or you know.
Yeah.
And this is a one guest that neither of us know. So in studio we have
Leo Flowers.
stand-up comedian.
Stand-up comedian. TED Talk.
Ooh. Yeah.
What's
How
going
are
on?
Podcaster.
I never know how to answer that question.
How are you?
How are you? It's like the year's just been. We started the year off with fires and Black Lives Matter, and then more fires, and now I'm just bored.
Yeah, bring the fires back.
It went from it's just been an emotional. I sound echoey. Is that the headphones or is that?
I don't know.
You sound good in my headphones.
Okay, all right. I feel like it was just like it started off like very like you were hopeful. It's 2020. We're gonna do this and all that.
Yeah,
and it was exciting, and then it got scary, and then it was like, oh damn, and now I'm just like I'm playing Monopoly. Like I finished the game of Monopoly from beginning to end, me and my girlfriend, and that's just where we're at. Well, I'm watching Queen's Gambit and
that show's so good.
chess.
Dude.
Like how do we go?
That show's so good.
It's so good. But last year I was watching Ozark, and then we're watching Narcos, and now we're watching.
You know what really pulled us through the pandemic here the studio was Tiger King.
Oh
Tiger
my God.
King, I feel like pulled a lot of people through.
Yeah, you grew out your mullet.
Yeah, I grew out the mullet. I had it going. I had plans to be Joe Exotic for Halloween, but that fell through. Just gotta figure everybody would be doing that. But
I watched 5 minutes of Tiger King. I was like, this is too much. This is overwhelming.
Same for me, bro.
Yeah.
That's Florida, baby.
Yeah. I started watching like Coco Melon or some shit. Like it was too.
My daughter watched
like the year was just too crazy to where I was just like I just want to watch like Marie Kondo fold clothes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Get rid of the shit I don't need in my life.
Yeah. I just wanted soothing.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, that is true. That's a very surface question when people kind of ask like, "Hey, how are you doing?" You know, unless you're gonna, break it down and get into a conversation of how you're doing, like we're doing right now. It is a very much like it's become that. Don't know really how to answer.
It's like really at all times we're doing our best. Mm-hmm. That's really always the answer.
You see me, I'm doing my best.
Right? Even if I'm like laying in bed, I'm doing my best. Like
I was saying that too. Like, I mean, this is a terrible year, but it's standing at the end. It is amazing how much through the human experience you can kind of make through, which is also weird. You list all the terrible things that have happened this year. And it's like, are you numb to the things that are happening now? Have I grown numb? Or also just so much can weigh you down, but you're still like, I guess I'm still here. I mean, I'm grateful for that. And who knows if it's going to get better. A lot of people are like, 2021, new year. That doesn't mean shit. That's a number.
I think we're rolling over, dog.
We are rolling over. Getting over rollover months.
Yeah. We definitely. But that's why I like to hike in nature so much, because when it does feel overwhelming, you get out there with the birds and the trees and the fish and and you realize like no matter, even if you're having a great year, a great time. Like these trees don't give a damn about your accolades. So me and my girl were just in Loreto, Mexico, right?
Nice.
And I went for a walk one morning. It was like 6 a.m. and it was an area like tourists right now. It's like everything's very unpopulated, So I'm out there. I got the whole beach to myself, and I go into this part that's like not part of the resort, and I just keep walking. I hear these 2 dogs barking. It's Pitbulls, 2 massive Pitbulls, and they're behind this fence. And I think I'm safe because they're behind a 10-foot fence, but I didn't see an opening in the fence, and they both popped through. And I'm on the beach, and so like I start backpedaling onto this rocky peninsula, and they're following me, and thank God pit bulls really aren't swimmers. I had to jump into the ocean
for real?
Wow.
to escape these two pit bulls.
Damn, dude. And I don't know if you know
And-
this, but Mexican pit bulls are a little different than American.
How
pit bulls.
so?
I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was like, what?
You're just in Mexico.
So I jump into the ocean, and I'm praying that these pit bulls don't jump in with me, and I have to swim. And I'm not even a good swimmer, but I got lucky. You know, in Mexico, where you could be like 20 miles out, and it's still like a foot of water.
right.
I don't know. The Mexican
It's low
map
tide,
is
low tide,
low
baby.
tide, right? So and they don't chase me down, you know, for thank God. But the whole time I was like, everything I've done with my life, all the things that my ego is wrapped around. Like, you know, I have a master's degree. I played in a Vegas bowl game. You know, I've been a you know, like I have a great pot. Like all these things that I've done.
Right.
At that moment,
meant
none of that
nothing,
mattered. These pit bulls didn't give a damn about like my suicide prevention podcast or me doing stand up or like my abs, nothing like that. The pit bulls were they just saw food, and they just wanted to protect. And I was just like, damn, I was so grateful for that experience. I mean, one, because I survived, but two, is just like, oh yeah, it matters, but it doesn't.
To what extent, right? Because
Right.
like when you said you get out in nature and stuff, and you realize like all these things around the birds, the fish, whatever, it's all we're so little. You know what I'm saying? And we're just so minuscule to this environment, or you know, compared to.
So little and so random. Like you can have all
True,
these
yeah.
accomplishments. You can work so hard on your life and trying to form into this perfect masterpiece or what have you. And then these pit bulls, it can be a wrong turn. It can, you know what I mean? I went on a hike one time. I took 5 edibles, and I didn't tell my girlfriend at the time.
So
was
you
a
took a
mistake.
wrong turn before the hike.
Exactly. And then I started trailblazing, got to this part where I'm just like, is this how
King of the
I
world,
die?
baby. King of the world.
It was beautiful at top, but then just go down, we had to like slide, and she's crying and mad at me that I, guided her up here. I was just, following my intuition, my animalistic nature, but it could have led to our death. And it's just like, it's crazy to think of all the things that you work on yourself through depression, through addiction. It's like, this is the moment that takes me down. You're like, fuck, man, this is it. Pit bulls in Mexico. It doesn't sound that bad, honestly.
I read about
kind of a cool way to go
right.
out, but
I was thinking that too. I was like, if I go out, I'm gonna go out. So, so my, going back to my ego, right? So I text my girlfriend like as I'm in the ocean because I'm thinking like the pit bulls might jump in. Where am I gonna go? And I text her. I was like 2 pit bulls, like because I had to send something real quick, you know. And because I want her to know, like, that's how I went out. Like, I wasn't kidnapped. I didn't run away. I want you to know. I want you to tell the story that Leo Flowers was taken down by 2 pit bulls. But there was their blood in the water, too.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
he was
like
missing
that.
an eye.
Yeah.
She's like, he left me for 2 pit bulls?
Right.
So where did he go in Mexico? This is a weird place.
Is he making a music video with them?
Yeah.
What is going on?
So the crazy part of that story is, I scraped my leg on some rocks, jumping into the water. So like I'm bleeding on the left side of my leg. I'm drenched. I run home, and I get home, and my girl, she's always working on her laptop, and she's right there at the desk working on her laptop. And without even looking up, she's like, "You forgot to take out the trash."
Oh,
and I was like, "You."
Snap back
Yeah,
to reality
yeah.
real
And
quick.
then she looked up and she saw me bleeding and perspiring, and so she's like, "Oh my God, what happened?"
That's
And I was like, "Oh my God."
you forgot
man.
to take out the trash. We on vacation. We're in Mexico, bro.
That's the crazy thing, too. Like, after these life-changing events, something that could have been so traumatic or something, then you go back and you're like, I gotta do my laundry.
Yeah.
Like something crazy can happen that night. I gotta wake up and go to work the next day.
Right.
Like, what is this life? It's so strange. So like, before you kill yourself, that's the name of your podcast.
Yes.
What brought you into the whole mental health? Something that I've dealt with my whole life. What brought you into it, I guess?
I mean, I've
Did
struggled.
anybody choose to go into it?
I struggle with it. When I was 9 years old, I told my mom when I turned 40, I was going to end my life. And I've always tried to look back at that and try to figure out like why I even said that. And I remember from a young age, I had always felt like a burden. Like I used to always think like if my mom hadn't had me, she would be able to afford like an amazing life and travel and do all the things. And I was just thinking about because I had a single mom. I have a younger sister, 4 years younger. And my mom was working like 2 jobs to send us to Catholic school, which I know was like expensive, you know. And I only had like I had like 2 pair of pants, 1 shirt, so I always had to wash it because I was always sweating profusely, and I just felt the sacrifice she was making to ensure that we had an education, because she's an immigrant from Belize and doesn't have a college degree, and so but from day one she always told me, like, when you wake up, you're either going to school or you're going to work, but you're going somewhere, right? So it was instilled, so to her it was like, no matter what, I'm gonna get you the best education I can offer you, and I'm gonna do what I have to do. And I was just like, God, she'd just be able to kick back and relax, and if she didn't have us, and so I was just always trying not to feel like a burden to her, but just the people in my life too. It's like I don't want to feel like I'm imposing, and I, like, my girlfriend, bless her heart, she's the exact opposite. She has no problem.
No awareness.
She has awareness, but to her, she's just like, why wouldn't you ask for what you want? Why wouldn't you stand up for yourself? Why wouldn't you?
Catholic guilt, baby.
Yeah, I got Catholic guilt too, right? I got that Catholic guilt.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not even Catholic. That's what sucks.
Me either, but
welcome
still
to the
is.
club, baby. Welcome to the club.
Yeah, when you're, it's crazy.
It's instilled, man. It's instilled.
And you don't
for sure.
realize the formative nature of when you're young and you hear these things, how much it really forms you. And I carried it with me for so many years, this existential crisis, not understanding what's happening. And I didn't realize that's where a lot of my depression stemmed from, which is kind of ugly, because religion should be beautiful. Like God and heaven and these ideas should be flourishing.
But the stories are so violent.
Yeah.
Right? So there's the confusion of, like, this is the guy who loves you and worships you and will do anything for you. But I'm like, but he's slaughtered like 50 people by page 10. Like, I don't understand.
We ain't even through Genesis, and he's already.
It's the first Game of Thrones.
Right.
I mean, it started with Cain and Abel, right? Like, this is two pages in.
Yeah.
You're like, and this is his son? What the? Right?
I know.
Yeah, what is that? Right?
Thought I had a bad dad. I mean,
But that's like your mother's engagement with you too, right? It's like her. That's her purpose, was to make you to prosper.
Great point, because I realize that a lot of people who do struggle with, like, mental health issues, or especially in relationships and stuff, part of the struggle is that we ourselves aren't asking enough questions, right? Through my whole childhood, I'm just assuming I'm this massive burden to my mom, not realizing I'm projecting the life that I'd want onto my mother, because I love to travel. My goal is to go to visit all 7 continents. I've been to 5. And I love to live comfortably. I want a house with a lap pool, that kind of thing. So there's a materialism, but there's also like an existentialism that I'm pursuing at the same time. And I just, like, of course my mom wants the same things that I want. But, a few years ago, I finally sat down and had a conversation with her. And she expressed exactly what you said. She said her whole purpose was just to take care of kids and take care of old people, and that's all she's ever wanted. And now, when I tell you, my mom is one of the happiest people I know. She truly is. She's 69, and she's still taking care of an older lady.
Okay.
And so, like, when people meet my mom, they love her. Like, my friends kidnap my mom. Like, they get her phone number, they become best friends. My mom, they kidnap.
Wait.
Yeah. Like, my mom was like, like, I live in LA, and my mom, and she's in Chicago, and she called me one day, and she was like, "Hey, I'm in LA," and I'm like, "What are you doing in LA?" And she's like, "Yo, your friend Bobby flew me out," and I was like, "What the?" So, like, people just, like, they just love her, they take care of her and stuff like that, and because she has, like, she has a childlike quality about her, where she's just, like, still in awe of the world around.
I feel like a lot of adults or grown-ups lose that shit.
Yeah, they lose
so
it.
easily.
Yeah,
Not in the Midwest.
Not in the Midwest.
No, the Midwest people are great. I love
that's
Chicago,
true.
dude.
You're right.
We're about in Chicago.
North side.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had family in Naperville and whatnot. So, like, I've moved around so much in my life. I still feel like I go back to there around Aurora and stuff like that. That, like, I feel at home there, because it's the only consistent thing that's been in my life.
Well, I think part of it is the food. Like, it's such a food culture. Alcohol, the pizza, the gyros. There's so many different cultures melting, and I think that especially today in today's time, when we think about food, we think about food in terms of calories or does it have gluten in it?
Mm-hmm.
But food has always been a thing that has brought people together. It's like when you travel, it's a way that people welcome you into their homes. So, some cultures, they hand feed you first before they take the first bite.
Damn.
And so, like,
that's assault in some places.
Yeah, right. Right.
You gonna get hit.
Yeah, you gonna get hit. Like, you trying to put your fingers in my mouth? What?
Especially right now, dude.
Yeah.
You can't do that 2020,
Yeah,
man.
you get your hand bit. And so, we forget that it's such a communal thing. In Chicago, in the Midwest especially, everything's around food and social gatherings. And I think that keeps a levity about things when you get down to the basics of community and food. Yeah.
I love that, man, because food does fucking bring everybody in. You know what I'm saying? It just includes everyone. And sorry, dude, got a little excited.
I think it's that and the weather though in Chicago. Like I've heard somebody talk about this.
Yeah.
It's like you suffer through these winters and you're in these packed bars trying to stay warm, and there's a sense of survival. That's like what happens to a lot of societies when they crumble. Is we start creating more problems because we're not forced by the ones outside of us. So we start creating. But as a community, if you're like shivering through the winter and trying to like shovel each other's like so you can get to work and it brings people together. Or in Arizona where we all hate each other.
We're living
God
in
bless.
luxury over here, dude.
No, you know what? It makes sense because, if it's dead of winter in Chicago and you see somebody all like scrunched up in the face, you know why.
Exactly.
Or at least you think you know why. You're like, it's 10 below. Like, I feel you. Like,
Is it drunk?
But like if it's like, but like the sun is out, like I live in San Diego and somebody's all scrunched up. You're like, is it me? Is it you?
Yeah,
Is
right.
it like, what's going on?
He's going through something.
Yeah.
Is he on keto? His CrossFit class just got closed. I mean, what's going on with this guy? Gotta ask him some questions.
That's wild.
They ran out of kettlebells. Dude, I never thought that like there would be such a run for kettlebells.
Yeah.
I tried. I've been trying to
Homeboy
order
here.
them since March.
I got one luckily. It's been great.
Yeah, the market went up to like $1,000
God
for
damn.
like the black market on kettlebells.
I know.
It's like it's
Just for like metal. It's funny the things that we run out of like toilet paper. It's like
Right.
there's some line of it that's like, and then also people taking advantage of you. You go to the grocery store now. There's a couple brands like $15. I'm like, it's criminal.
Ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If we're ripping each other off in a time of need
Supply
and
and demand,
time
baby.
we should be coming
Supply and demand.
I know it's capitalism, and it's finger licking good, but I'm not happy about it because he wants some kettlebells, and we all need some kettlebells. And I don't even think that many people exercise, so I don't
that's
know.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, so why can I not find some weights?
like what are you gonna do in March? Like
Yeah.
You're gonna be a resale of kettlebells
Oh my
in
God!
March, bro. They're
No,
gonna-
what I can't wait for is to be at like these adoption places when people start returning the dogs.
Oh.
Sad. Sad. It happens when movies come out. When like 101 Dalmatians came out, happens with Dalmatians. Beverly Hills Chihuahua happens with Chihuahuas.
Yeah,
Happens
the
with
Taco
all those
Bell dog,
movies.
dude.
Oh
Yeah.
man, I tell you what, when people can start going back to Cabo, man, those dogs are going back to the pound.
Yeah,
For
that.
sure.
Yeah.
And especially because I don't think people realize how expensive dogs are. They're just like, oh yeah, it's a couple $100, but I mean that's for
That's the initial purchase.
that's initial
man.
dog
And that's
food.
You
one
need dog
missing
food
a
once
leg.
weekly,
Right, and
you
then that
need
doggy back
vaccination.
surgery.
Yeah, all that shit, man. It gets expensive.
Yeah, it gets expensive, man.
Well, then
So-
the vets start charging more and more. It's like there's this thing where we just keep on. Just with
It's a business, baby.
Stop it,
It's
Pedro,
a business.
Oh well, it is what it is, man. That's the thing. There's so many things in life you could pick on and just be outraged in. So going back to your whole nature talk or going outside into the world, we got rid of a lot of our social media in this past year, and
months.
you realize that you're not. This isn't the world.
I'm not tethered
it's
to
not,
that. Yeah.
This isn't the world that we're actually existing in. Go on a hike. Go to Camelback Mountain. Walk around. Listen to the gossip of Betty and Sue talking about their boyfriends. Like get out there.
I bet he's not happy.
Yeah. And
No, you're right because when I go, sometimes I go hiking. I'll take my headphones.
Mm-hmm.
But ever since that dog incident, I realized because I had my headphones, I have these noise canceling headphones. If I had them on, I wouldn't have heard them in time enough
yeah.
to react.
So being aware of your surroundings,
Right, because
as well.
I heard them barking early on, and I could tell that they were massive dogs. So I immediately start to put some distance between myself and the
That's
sound.
so scary, dude. I hate
And if I had not, like that could have been the end of for Leo Flowers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Or a leg or a limb
yeah,
or
something, man. And you know what? You know what was interesting too, because I was like, I didn't care about being killed by the dogs. I just don't want to get hurt. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Interesting.
like if I got murdered by the pit bulls, I'd have been like, cool, like
Cool,
I'm
yeah.
dead, like you're dead. Who cares? It would have been a quick death. They would have went for the throat. I would have bled out immediately. But like to like lose like for them to like bite half my face,
Yeah,
and then like
yeah.
I got to go through that reconstructive
You need 42
surgery,
stitches and all that, yeah.
and all that, or like lose an arm. Like I don't want to be hobbling around.
That could have been your next comedy special,
nah,
though.
man, that's
The one-armed comedian that talks about mental health.
Yeah,
I mean,
right. Just be swimming in circles.
Carrot top with your leather arm. You can kind of use it as a prop too.
3-limb Leo. 3-limb Leo is what they call it.
You and the shark bite girl. Could be a
that was
duo.
my only thing where I was just like, oh my god, because rehab sucks. I don't know if you guys ever been through any.
I haven't had any to do any physical therapy or.
Have you had to do any?
I broke my elbow when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, so you don't remember?
Not
Right,
really.
Right.
It just sucked having a cast on for 8 months and not being able to move your arm, and then after it gets taken off, it's so strange because your body just completely gives up on you. It's like, all right, I guess we're not using that anymore.
It's almost like those phantom limbs.
Oh yeah,
You know,
phantom.
people
Oh, yeah, right,
have like that, or they have all their limbs, but they're like, I feel like I shouldn't have my right hand.
Yeah,
And like
those people are freaks, bro. They should be listening to Leo's podcast because they got some mental health issues.
for sure.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't want to get hurt, man. And then but what was interesting is I started thinking about like relationships of like, of why like I always break up, always preemptive strike the breakup because I don't want to get hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like people talk about, I don't care about death. Like I'm fine. I've had guns pulled on me a few times, and I've always just like been like, all right, whatever. I've never like it doesn't scare me to die, but like pain to get hurt, like oh god, like that's something I don't want to experience. I mean that's why like 50% of Americans are on painkillers. Right? It's like nobody wants to feel uncomfortable or hurt. It's just like ugh.
I love the quote we brought up a long time, like, your comfort zone will kill you.
Yeah.
I don't know who said that, but that was something that really resonated with me because I think as you're growing up through your 20s, you get locked into these patterns of kind of feeding off of nostalgia in a way and finding this comfort zone that we're all really stuck in, especially after this pandemic and these lockdowns. We're all in this weird, cozy life where we're ordering things from our phone, watching things on our TV, getting everything on a high demand speed that there is no ebbs and flows of life anymore. So the highs aren't as high, the lows aren't as low, and we're just becoming this numb mush. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're on painkillers. That's what it is. We're all just numb.
You know, there's an author, Sarah Wilson, who wrote the book "First We Make the Beast Beautiful," and then she has a new one, this One Wild and Precious Life. And in the book, she talks about getting discordant, meaning like we call it like shaking things up, because we all get into a ritual routine, which is good. Sometimes like when you're in a plane, the plane has to level out.
Yeah.
Right. It has to reach a cruising altitude, and then, and you spend most of your flight cruising. At some point, you gotta land the plane, though. And I think that like a lot of us, if you've been in a rut for so long where you start to see progress, where you're not moving towards your destination, that's when you got to just mix things up. And whether that means going for a hike or hopping on a train to nowhere, like we want everything to be like perfect and controlled. It's like I want my meal at this time and I want that at that time. We want everything on a time schedule. And sometimes, and that's good if that's how your life operates, but sometimes that can be stressful too, of like running around and being on this time clock and this timetable.
It's a routine.
Yeah. It's a routine. That's why I like about hiking is like it forces you to be present, right? Anything outdoors, anytime you do something different, it's not that I always mention hiking because that's what I do mostly, but like my buddy has an endo board. I don't know if you know what an endo. It's like a tiny surfboard, but it's indoors where like you have to balance on it. And when you have
the one on like the wheel or like
it's on a wheel.
Yeah.
It's a board on a wheel.
And you kind of
you got to
I've seen
balance.
those.
So I was doing that, and I did that for about a half hour, and you're just locked in because you're
have
trying
to.
to balance,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You don't want to fall into the tree or through plate glass windows,
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like to find those things where you can be present because we're not in control. Like you can do your best to like, you're in control of like the sound of the podcast and the look and all that stuff, right? But at the end of the day, it's like, this whole building could blow up, right? It's like you got to start all over.
I got OCD about that,
you got
so
OCD,
I don't like that you brought that up because I obsessively check my
over
oven.
things blowing up.
So now I'm like, oh, great. So now he came on. Does he smell gas?
Yeah. So it's just, but you just have to, but like I said, I don't want to demonize routine and comfort,
because for some people,
because sometimes you need to be, a lot of people who've been through traumatic experiences like Chernobyl. I don't know if you saw the HBO.
So good.
It's so good, right? Good. But so part of the story that they didn't include was that some people, of course they displaced. They found most of those people new homes because you can't live there. But there's a group of women who actually decided to stay in Chernobyl because they were just like, this is my home, we're not leaving. And that group of women actually outlived the people who were displaced.
Oh, damn.
Interesting.
Yeah, because they, and now, I mean, was it by a day? Was it by a year? I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think part of the point is that it comes back to community and like, how connected do you feel to the people that you're on this journey with, right? It's not all about accomplishments and goals and achieve. Who are you with?
Right.
That's the shit that makes it worthwhile and keeps you present. Like, you don't care if you get there. I'm having fun.
Right.
It's all the bacteria too. That's interesting you say that, because maybe it would be like if you're exposed to these gases or whatnot, like to escape them, that's actually hurting. That would hurt their body more. That's interesting. I wonder what like the difference is of the survival of the people that stayed there.
Actually, they were the cast on Hills Have Eyes too, dude. I don't know. No, but it goes back to I think you mentioned this on your latest episode, or the one before that with Lucas on your podcast Before You Kill Yourself, about the Jewish people in concentration camps and how once they were liberated, some of them had a really hard time struggling, and possibly, I mean, off themselves very well so could have been. But the ones that did progress through that and they built upon that, it's almost just made them stronger, you know what I'm saying? And their routines and all that, just, I don't know. And I wanted to go back to that because I related a lot actually to your last episode, Lessons Learned from 2020.
2020, right.
Yeah, and number one, how we're all needy, and that's I've learned that even through my marriage, because we need the affirmations, we need the constant assurance, almost in a sense, and we're all fucking needy, man. Even though we like to think we don't need it, and we do, and also like I'm gonna list your top 4.
Okay. Because I forget what I said. Please do.
Same, dude. Yeah. So number 1 was we're all needy. 2 is breathe. Yeah. Like through the anxiety, through the panic attacks. And you actually mentioned something that I use that I've discussed with you before, is that find things of a certain color, trying to like just get you out of your head. Like find something that's blue, and then you look around and you look for something that's blue, the cord. Or, you find a couple things that are yellow, and then it's like that gets you out of your head so much you stop overanalyzing and just snowballing the process of the anxiety or the panic attack. You know what I'm saying?
Breathing is so interesting because I started meditating a couple of years back.
Yoga helped me
but
learn
I
how
also
to breathe. Dude.
realize when I have it, like if I'm super anxious or start feeling depressed or overwhelmed, you do stop breathing. Your body naturally starts like
you
tightening up and you clench up. And I realized throughout my day when I'm like, oh, find your breath, find that rhythm. 1, 1, 1. Not, just any of those. Hare Krishna, you know what I mean?
Right.
But seriously, it's crazy. It's this trance that we need to find into, and your brain, your subconscious can just grab onto this other loop so easily and just, all right, pull yourself back. Here we are. It's breathing. It's wild. Like I work
your
in
bearings.
Yeah. And it's funny because a lot of dudes, women hate when men tell them to relax.
Yeah.
Calm
Why don't
down.
you just relax?
Calm down.
Don't
tell me to calm down. I'll show you. I'm not yelling yet. I'll show you yelling.
And that's what my wife sounds like. So.
Or they'll say, why don't you smile? You know? But really what we should be saying to each other is, take an inhale, exhale, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Come back to your breath. And that's something that I don't think anybody would be activated or triggered by it because, like you said, we're all walking around in our heads, right? We're just like thinking about the past or thinking about the future, but to be in the moment is like very rare. And I think that when men are telling women to relax, that's what we're really saying is like, come back to
Take a
your
breath.
breath.
Yeah.
You know, come back to
You hear that,
present.
ladies?
Yep.
I just you heard it from Leo Flowers.
Calm down, ladies. No, but I think, but most men even saying that to them, I don't even think they're actually taking that own advice. I feel like there are some people, there are grounded people that could have an adult conversation, like, hey, breathe, you need to take a deep breath. Like, I know there's a lot of pressure right now, but most people, they're not doing this. It's like, practice what you preach in a way. I think if you walk around floating, feeling good, you give off this energy. That's a real thing. If you're walking around tense, you're like, hey, calm down. You know, like you get there's tonal differences. We get lost in the in betweens. It's not as much of what you're saying, how you're saying it.
True.
You know?
The nuances.
Yeah,
I was telling my girl, one day I came home and as soon as I walked through the door, my girl Michelle was like, she was like, "Where have you been?" And immediately, like, that upset me because I was like,
It's just that tone.
Yeah, that tone. I was like, how dare you? Like, you don't trust me? You know what I'm saying? After all we've been through, like, where do you think what was going through your head, And then I took a breath and I realized what she was really expressing was, I missed you. You know what I mean?
If you delve into
right,
it,
if you delve into it, she missed me. Like that was, but a lot of the times we're expressing ourselves from the surface level emotion, or just what we've heard other people say. Like, rarely do we say to each other, like, I missed you. It's like, where have you been? What have you been doing? What'd you do all day?
Yeah.
Or, because what did you do all day is a little aggressive, too. It's versus like, hey, I was just thinking about you. You know what I'm saying? And I hope you had a fulfilling day.
Yeah, it would be good, like, where you been? I missed you. Following up with that second, but it's rarely the case that happens.
Right.
I don't know how to show our feelings anymore. I feel like we're not only boiling down our thoughts and our ideas, but how we share them with other people. That's why I love podcasts, because it is an open conversation. We're not really stuck to our phone or looking at what we need to do next. We actually are dialed into a conversation talking about, hey, what's going on? How are you feeling? It's more of just, hey, how are you? Like, you can't just say, how are you questions in a bot. It's going to end pretty quickly. These are surface level. Yeah, it's.
Well, I always say, like, if you really want to know how someone is doing, you ask them how they're shitting and how are they sleeping.
Would you like to answer that?
The two S's.
Your poop and your sleeps
tell
me everything, because if you're not sleeping well, there's so many different reasons why. Where are you anxious? Your relationship on the rocks, financial problems.
You're not breathing during your sleep?
Right? You have sleep apnea. I have sleep apnea that I'm struggling with.
I poop in my sleep.
Yeah, maybe you poop in your sleep. You know what I'm saying? So, like when you go to the doctor, they get a urine sample from you immediately, see what's going on. They get a poop sample. It's like these are the two things that really ground people and allow them to open up and have a much richer dialogue versus how are you doing? Because we're all just going to fall into that good. Because we really interpret that nowadays of like, you don't really care. Or else you would have asked a more like detailed, personal. Like, so I was at dinner with some friends the other day with another couple, me and my girl and another couple. And I was asking my girl about the color of her urine. She was like, I have a headache. And I said, well, what color is your urine? And then my friend's girl was like, "How come you never ask about the color of my urine?" Like just immediately just jumped in
you formed the envy in her, bro.
But what was funny is like she's a nurse and he's not, so he was like, "Well, you would know if there was an issue with
right?
You. Yeah, that's how he's thinking.
You should be asking about my urine,
right? Absolutely. But in her head, she's just like, "Why don't you show that you care about me the way he's like that?"
Texture, substance.
Yeah,
give me the details.
That's why my Bumble dates are going so bad. I never ask how their urine is when
that should be the opening line.
Yeah.
Are you on Bumble?
Yeah.
How was that going?
Terrible. Terrible. But I'm lonely. Like,
hold on.
You got a girlfriend during this pandemic lockdown, man. I got my dog.
So wait, what's your strategy? How are you opening them up?
Is it terrible sex life? hookup wise or terrible to, actually build or grow a relationship?
Great answer. Great question.
I'm looking for something real. So I feel like what ends up happening is these long form conversations. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, I don't ask them about their urine or something. So either we'd never meet up, and it might be on me too. I don't know.
What do you mean long form conversation?
Like
so
it's not like surface level. Just hey, how are good? Okay, let's go get a drink. Like we're usually what do you like? We talk about I don't know philosophy or ideas or because those are important to me if we're actually gonna have a relationship or even a date that's worth going on. Because I don't want to just go on some date with some thought. You get some chicken wings and hook up later. Like that's not the goal.
Sounds like a perfect date, dude.
Yeah, and you're married, okay? So I'm not just trying to chase it just to get it marked off the checklist,
jokes,
okay?
Well,
it's hard.
I'm gonna assume it's probably like you're doing a lot of pushing but not a lot of pulling, or a lot of pulling and not a lot of pushing, right? Where it's good to have those philosophical conversations, but like you still have to ratchet up. So that's brain, right?
Yeah.
So you have to, how do you get to her heart?
Yeah.
Right? So if you're having philosophical conversations, that's head, think. That's exhausting.
And what that thing do.
Right? Say it again.
And then what that thing do.
Right. But see, so you went to the joke, right?
Yeah.
And so like, if you're doing that on Bumble, it's like, it's funny, ha, ha, ha. But it doesn't make her feel anything.
Right.
So you've gotten her to think, and people want to feel, right? That's what a commercial is trying to do. It's trying to get you to feel a thing so that you'll buy the thing. That's why, like, you watch a car commercial, they don't really talk about the car. Right. They got Matthew McConaughey shooting pool with his friends, and then he just leaves the party like, I don't need you guys, and he's happy by himself in the car.
Yeah.
They're trying to elicit a feeling like you by yourself is enough in this car.
Or
like,
status almost.
Yeah, even a status, right? So it's like he was the life of the party, and he's like, I'm leaving this party because I'm cooler than this party, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to find a way to tap into their heart, right?
Yeah, sling them arrows, boy.
But I feel like I feel it in a weird like I'm just like, oh, I think this might be so I actually feel it kind of somewhere.
Because you know what? You just started off with said I think. See what I'm saying? That's head. You didn't get into the feel.
Interesting.
Right? So what happens is when somebody's talking to you, what you're listening for are their emotional words, because women will give that to you. If you're having these long conversations, you're not. I don't care about really what you think about crime and punishment or the mating habits of Japanese seagulls, right? What I'm listening for is the emotion behind it. Wow, sounds like you're really passionate about that. Passion, that's an emotion. And then she'll say, yeah. And she'll keep talking and passionate about it. Like I spent time with my dad, and, we used to chase seagulls when I was a kid. And I was like, wow, you and your dad sound like you had like a close relationship. Close. See, so I'm listening for the emotive languages that she's going to provide you, or just the tone from it. And then that'll get her feeling a certain way. And
probably open up a bit.
Right, open up. It's like what people don't realize about emotions is that the emotion, however she feels about a thing, she's going to feel about everything. This is why when guys take women to scary movies as a way to get laid, it doesn't work.
Wait, that's a thing?
Right. It's like, she'll be...
No, I didn't know that was a thing.
Well, back in the day, it was like, she'll be scared.
Close up, you want to cuddle.
She'll be scared and she'll want to cuddle. And
yeah.
No, but what you don't realize, what you're doing is, she doesn't really know you, right? Because she's still getting to know you. You're taken to a movie where there's a man killing everybody, men, women, and children. So she's sitting there watching a man kill people, and she's with a man. And now you think that she's gonna go home with you?
Right. Let's go,
baby.
Yeah, that's your result.
Yeah.
So now you want to go bone?
Yeah. So if you're really trying to build a connection with a woman, you want to take it to like a dramatic action movie where the guy dies, not where the guy's a killer, but where the guy.
And
is,
she's gonna be afraid of
like
losing you, bro.
Where he sacrifices. That's right. A woman has to.
Should he be attractive as the lead?
Well, it doesn't even matter about the looks, right?
Yeah.
It's the feel,
Ah.
right? So a woman has to imagine losing you to love you.
Damn.
Right?
Can you repeat that? I'm gonna send it to my wife.
Yeah. No, seriously, a woman has to imagine losing you to love you. That's why, like, I'm always like, I did the 23andMe, and diabetes is wipes out my whole family. Like, everybody dies. Diabetes, cancer, heart disease. So, like, I told my girlfriend about it, and every now and again, I'll just send her articles about, damn, diabetes. I just remind her that, like I could die at any day now, just to make her appreciate me.
Do you struggle with diabetes?
I do, like, for sure. Like, and not that I have diabetes, but that
I don't know if it's your
sugar. I'm high. I love, like, I grew up on, like, donuts, cupcakes, and ice cream. Like, those are my three. My girlfriend's the opposite. She grew up on, like, chocolate, pizza, and chips. I feel like those are always the two fast food categories where it's
it's okay, no.
I mean, of course, most people will be like, I eat all the things, but I think we always have one that we.
It's really going off the rails.
Yeah. Well, this is the quarantine, baby. Anything can happen.
I second your emotional eating, because I do the same exact thing, and it might not even be emotional. I just have a sweet tooth, man. I can't stop myself. Like last week, I mentioned I sometimes eat to stay awake and continue watching my show. Instead of just putting it down, going to bed, getting the proper sleep that I need, putting on my machine. I saw you got the mouth guard,
right,
for sleep apnea, but it is. I just I can't not eat.
Did that shut down? Oh.
No, we're good. We're good. Yeah.
So like we're fighting sleep, but really what I found is like part of it is like this feeling of not like I haven't done enough with the day. Like I don't fight sleep when I really am like checking all the boxes. Gotcha. You know what I'm saying? I have a list of things where because I know boredom for me is like where I get in trouble, so like I'm taking sign language, guitar lessons, Spanish lessons, all via Zoom, and then like I'm coaching clients. I have my podcast. I'm training clients. Like I need to have a million things to do. I'm not interested in mastery. I'm just interested in like feeling productive. I just want to win the day.
So is that something you have to do? Like you have to have this, routine or ritual, whatever you want to call it, to not struggle with your depression? Because I know with you very much put like a lot in. You pack your days. You know what I'm saying? You go gym, runs, and that's your like how you deal with not feeling that depression or
with anybody that when they say like I can't sleep, I sleep terrible. Like, did you work out that day? What kind of sugar? What are you intaking?
Yeah.
You really have to look at all the things in your life that you're doing or trying to fulfill. And if you're not putting any effort, any chips in these spots of growth, you're not going to sleep great. You are going to feel, even if you get 10 hours of sleep, you might not feel great because you're not trying to force yourself to grow. It's that whole comfort killing you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you gotta try to keep, at least for me, I see some people that I'm like, they seem happy getting pizza, watching Netflix, binging it every day. Maybe they aren't deep down. I see that. I'm like, that seems really nice because I know earlier you said like you don't fear death. I don't know if that was something that you conquered or if that was something that was never inside of you. But for me, I was always afraid of death. It scared me. Lifeless, No,
because in death there's no pain. And really a lot of people were just a lot of people are running around trying to avoid pain, right? That's why people don't commit themselves to certain things, to relationships, to their work, to their craft, because it's painful. Yeah. Steve Jobs, he built up Apple from the ground up. I mean, did he have help in investors? Yes. But that was his baby, right? Yeah. And then the investors, the board of directors came in and took it from him. Can you imagine? Right. You build up a multi-billion-dollar company, and they go, "We don't need you anymore," right? Yeah. And then, but and that ate him up. And then he pivoted and he started Pixar. So it kind of became a blessing. And then he was brought back into Apple. But a lot of people don't want to go through that kind of pain because there's a lot of betrayal on your way to the top, right? There's a lot of heartbreak and people who you think are your friends, once the money gets to a certain number, all of a sudden it changes them. And sometimes it can take away from your relationships, right? Your success. Whereas, like, if you're a person who really thrives on relationships and people, maybe you don't push yourself because that takes you out of the relationships. You know, like you think about a CEO or, you know, these people living up in a penthouse, they're way up there. They're on like the 100th floor. They're so far away from people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the thing that I love the most, you know, where I live in San Diego, is we're like in this 2-story brownstone where as soon as I open my door, the sidewalk is right there. And I can walk and I see people walking their dogs, and I recognize faces, and I can recognize dogs, and I know my neighbors, and my neighbors know me. And, you know, if I'm out of town, can you grab my newspaper, things like that. When you live in an apartment, in a like, you don't have neighbors. You don't talk to them. You're trying to, like, isolate yourself from those people.
Especially mine down
Absolutely.
there. Oof. Terrible.
And you know, so there was this guy who it was a story about this guy who was a plumber, and he'd been a plumber for like 30, 40 years, and his company had kept trying to promote him, and he was like, "Why would I want to do that?" He goes, "If I get promoted and I'm managing and running the business, I'm just in an office by myself all day. I don't want that. I'd rather be meeting people, moving around." So a lot of times, the comfort serves us in a way so that we can grow in other ways. So it's not about like your whole life should be uncomfortable. It's about finding, because we all need safety. And that's what comfort is like, where do I feel safe enough to then go out and explore?
Very
right?
true. Yes.
You know what I mean?
A foundation.
A foundation.
Yeah.
We all need a foundation. So whether that be at your home, at work, hopefully it's both, right? If you have both, that's a blessing. You're lucky.
Yeah.
If you feel safe, but most people don't have that, you know?
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a bottom common denominator with I don't know, people you've interviewed on your podcast, like people that do struggle with, you know, the thoughts of suicide and all of that? Do you find some correlation between each of these stories, or like a determining factor of, or is this just wild? And just because for me personally, I really never experienced like depression until not until I talked to you, because you make me depressed. No,
in the Hispanic community, it's a myth.
Yeah. But I mean, I really haven't really had to deal with any, you know, physical or mental, emotional depression throughout my life. So I never had like suicidal thoughts. That didn't even cross my mind, you know. So I feel lucky to have that, because I know a lot of people that do constantly have those thoughts running in through their heads. So I'm just trying to.
Oh, a great question. And so just to clear up a couple things, because so depression and suicidality, two different things. So depression is like a weighted blanket. It's like, it's a weight. Like when people are depressed, they talk about how it's hard for them to get out of bed. It's hard for them to move, to shower. Brushing your teeth seems like such an arduous task, right? It's like, oh my God, it's just so laborious to get in there and floss and just. I remember I went a week without showering, right? Suicidality is like a fire. It's like it's like an inflammation from the inside. So when we think about suicidality, it's more of a pain, whereas depression is more of a weight of like, I just like the shoulders are just
bogged down.
Right, you just bogged down, right? And so when you're depressed, it's actually a benefit, because most people don't end their lives when they're depressed. They don't have the energy. That's how much energy, people don't realize the amount of energy it takes to actually end your life. So what happens is as the depression lifts, that's when people end up wanting to end their life.
Gotcha.
Because now they have the energy, right? So that's why the families are always surprised when they go, God, they were doing so well. They were laughing, they were giggling. They seem to be getting healthy.
I just saw him last week.
Yeah, I just saw him last week. He's doing wonderful, right? And so it's a mixed message and it confuses people. Even therapists go, "Oh yeah, you're doing great," and blah blah blah. But the truth is now that they have the energy, that's when we have to double down. And that's when you're depressed, that's the time, because you don't have a lot of energy, that's the time to plan. To make that's when it's important to have a team in place of who you can call, whether it's the 1-800-SUICIDE number or 1-800-273-TALK, or a therapist or friends. Like, who are you going to call when you're depressed? Because when that depression lifts, that's when you're in trouble, because you're like, God, I don't want to go through that depression again.
Yeah.
That sucked. This is going to keep coming around. I don't really like my life. And now I have some energy. And so that's why there's such a high rate in people who are bipolar or manic depressive, because when they're depressed is really low and when they're manic is really high. And so they usually end their lives in the manic state, right? And so people who are struggling with manic depression and bipolar, it's very important. Those are the people who really need routine. So that's why I don't want to demonize being comfortable, because the routine, because that transition from super depressed to super manic is so dangerous for it. It's almost like if you're driving in a car 100 miles an hour and then you come to an abrupt stop. Like you're gonna
feel it,
right? And imagine like that's for your whole life, right? Where 100 miles an hour stop, 100 miles an hour stop. Like that's brutal. It makes you want to end that,
Yeah.
So what people who are struggling with bipolar is they're looking for like the cruise control, right? They're just like, I have friends who like they're just like, I can't listen to music, I can't watch TV, I can't watch anything that excites me too much. Because we do live in that environment where everything's like, hey, get excited, are you ready? Like those company, especially like those startups, and there's like everything's rah rah rah, right? Smile for the camera,
say cheese,
and the truth is, what people don't know is that you don't smile with your teeth, you smile with your eyes. That's when you can tell how somebody's really feeling in the moment.
Yeah, because if you dead behind the eyes, dude.
And I like those kind of women.
It's a wrap.
I like those women. I'm not gonna lie, I'm attracted to the dead eyes. I think that might be part of the issue.
Damn, that's why Bumble ain't working out, dude.
But on a serious note, it is interesting how it does happen on the uptick, because it's one of the saddest things. It's very rarely the first time that gun is in that person's mouth, that noose is around their neck. You trial it out, and I've gone through some very low parts of my life. I've tried to kill myself before, and it is in a manic rage, because that's the only time you can collectively put all this energy together, because you also don't know where you're funneling it in a way. Because going back to it is important to have routine, because if you are running, exercising, meditating, these routine things that hey, I have to do this every day, I've got to drink a lot of water to stay on top of it. If you're not funneling your energy in there, then all of a sudden you get out of depression, you just 100 on the highway, closing your eyes. It's
the highway ends, baby.
Your brain goes to some scary places when it starts firing rapidly like that, when you have those demons living dark. And it goes with communicating with anything. It's fully communicating your thoughts with a therapist, with anybody. You don't realize how just saying the things that are inside your head just to somebody you love or care about, how much that really just loosens that wet depression blanket a little bit. 'Cause it's wet too. It's not just heavy. It's wet. It smells bad. It's muggy. It's also can be comfortable. It's comfortable. I've had it for years and years, and you feel comfortable with it around you, because if you start feeling happy again, who's going to hurt you next? So
Absolutely.
We got you're almost going out to stand up live right now.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. You're in town for a couple days. And
Yeah. We're at Stand Up Live tonight through. Well, when does this air?
Next week.
Okay, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. But no, you're so right. And to have a routine, I do a thing called GERMS: journal, exercise, read, meditate, self-talk, and I do that every day. Sometimes I do it for a minute each. Sometimes I do it for 5 minutes. Some days I do like an hour meditation. But I make sure to click through those every single day. And now there are some days where I don't click through all of them, but just knowing that I click through some of them brings me some relief and reduces some of the anxiety. earlier we were talking about fight, flight, and freeze. But there's a fourth level of the amygdala stimulation of it's not fluster, but it starts with an F. I forget what it is. But basically, so like when we're anxious and like your brain is really firing, so you kind of go into this: should I fight? Should I flee? Should I run?
Fawn.
What is it?
Fawn. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Does that sound?
Fawn. I don't. Or okay, fawn. Yeah,
That's
flop.
the only F.
It might be. So basically, so the fight is run. The fight is stay and fight it or attack. The freeze is run. The fight. Yeah. The freeze is you're
crippled by it.
You're just crippled by it, right? And people go, why are you just standing there? Because you're all amygdala.
Don't know what to do.
But the fluster is where you have a bunch of energy, but it's not going anywhere. So it's kind of like when you see I hate to say, somebody's just undone and they're just like, just yelling and somebody's flailing about.
Karen.
Right? Like
She's still kind of in fight.
kind of like, but like when you just see somebody like arms up and just running around, it's but they're not attacking anybody. They're not running from anything. They're just like flailing. And so sometimes we flail about, and that's so uncomfortable. And so sometimes we're not acting that out because maybe you're at work when you feel this, right?
Right.
Or you're on a date or whatever, or on a public place, and so it's all going on in your head, and you have no idea. Because sometimes I get that and so what I do is called a Pomodoro Technique, where it's 25 minutes of concentration on something that's challenging but not impossible, and that can be done, and then a 5-minute break. And
Give me an example of what would you focus on?
So like guitar practice, right? So I'll say, okay, did I practice guitar today? No, all right. So I'll immediately set my timer for 25 minutes and just let that run, and I'll just practice my guitar for 25 minutes. Or I'll journal for 25 minutes, just freestyle writing, right? Like where it's something I have to concentrate on, but not something I have to really think about
Put in too much work, yeah.
Put in too much work. Like I'm not learning something new. I'm just kind of practicing. It kind of gets like with your OCD, like that's a way to like the writing becomes repetitive. You get into a state of flow. Practicing guitar, state of flow. Sometimes I'll set it and I'll just like stretch for 25 minutes or like do dishes, or I'll do something for 25 minutes. And then I'll check in with myself and I'll say, okay, I feel so much better now. I usually 9 times out of 10, I feel, I don't want to say better, I hate that word. I feel more centered and grounded. And then I pick the next task and I say, all right, I'll do this for 25. Because a lot of times we think we need hours to do a thing. Like, I don't have an hour to work out. I don't have an hour to write a book. 25 minutes. Just sit, lock it in. And if you do that every day, all of a sudden it'll just build up its own momentum, and it prevents boredom. Like that to me, it's like
that's one big thing about you said bored hand or
idle hands, or
I just
or
messed
the
up your
devil's
quote.
idle hands lead to the devil's workshop. I mean, that's not mine, but yeah, it's like when we don't have things that engage us, that give us meaning, right? That's when disaster strikes. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times. So like a lot of kids who think that, schools are like, these are bad kids. It's like, no, the work you're giving them is kind of meaningless. It's like if you're not talking about real world stuff.
They're bored.
Yeah, and you're not showing them how to apply what they're learning in the classroom to the real world. Like, of course they're going to, zone out.
It's almost like it's become not okay to be bored anymore. Because I remember like sometimes just being bored and doing nothing, but being fine. You know what I'm saying? Not looking for trouble or anything like that, but I have had the situations where in this, state of boredom, this predicament pops up and I just have to put my hands in it because I'm bored. Yeah, sometimes it happens. And it's more probable to happen there, but also being bored isn't bad.
No, actually boredom is where you could find intimacy. So like, in relationships, a lot of times, you're dating right now. So, if you go on a date, you feel like I gotta keep it up.
Keep this up.
Yeah, a little back and forth. Get that, but really, that's all fun and games. But you really will get to know the other person and each other when you're able to sit in that silence.
That's
together,
the best,
right?
Yeah, that's the best thing. Yes.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to my wife in months.
Oh,
we're in
it's
silence.
so romantic.
So romantic. So much intimacy.
I'm so envious of your relationship. No words or anything. Last time she talked, she had a black eye.
It didn't go good for her that time.
All right,
And domestic abuse is not funny.
This
guys.
was your end time, basically. Thank you, Leo Flowers, for coming.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it,
seriously,
man.
we'd love to have you on every time you're in town.
Yeah, man, I
That'd
appreciate
be
this.
awesome.
This is great, man. Go to thrivewithleo.com for one-on-one coaching with yours truly.
Yeah.
And,
What's your handle on IG?
Leo Flowers 2000.
2000.
Yes, sir.
Twitter, all that.
I wish I screwed up immensely. So on Twitter, it's Leo Flowers for real. And then, but if you go to leoflowers.com, it links to everything.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. You heard it here, folks. leoflowers.com. It was a great pleasure to have you on, dude.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you
This
for
is
coming.
awesome,
Good luck
man.
on your
Thank
show
you.
tonight.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
And
Let's make 2021 more like 2000.
2000 was a good year. Let's go back.
All right.
All right, man. We'll catch you next week. Thanks for listening, folks.
Cheers.
I'm
Amor
Bipolar.
Y paz.